Mercedes in big trouble as Ferrari new evidence changes everything after Chinese GP. Formula One, a sport where milliseconds decide glory and secrets decide championships. Because sometimes what happens off the track is far more explosive than what happens on it. And after the Chinese Grand Prix, something has shifted, something serious. Ferrari has found something, new evidence that could change everything, not just for them, but for Mercedes. And if what's being discussed behind the scenes is true, Mercedes might be in bigger trouble than anyone expected. The Chinese Grand Prix was supposed to be just another race on the calendar, a weekend filled with strategy, tyre management and small margins. But instead, it became the centre of attention for something much bigger. While fans were focused on lap times and overtakes, teams were quietly watching something else: Mercedes. At first glance, nothing seemed unusual. Their pace looked decent, not dominant, not terrible, just somewhere in between. But Formula One isn't just about what you see on TV. It's about data, telemetry and details so small that most people would never notice. And that's exactly where things started to get interesting. Ferrari engineers, known for their precision and analytical depth, reportedly began examining Mercedes' performance patterns more closely after the race. They weren't just looking at lap times, they focused on how the car behaved in very specific situations, such as corner exits, energy deployment, and straight-line acceleration. What they discovered didn't completely add up. There were moments where the Mercedes suddenly showed bursts of performance that didn't match its usual characteristics. These weren't consistent advantages, but selective ones, almost as if the car had access to something extra at very specific times. In Formula One, that kind of irregularity immediately raises concerns. Every aspect of a car is tightly regulated, from power unit deployment to aerodynamic efficiency. If a team finds a way to operate in a grey area, it becomes a serious topic. Ferrari didn't go public right away. Instead, they continued their analysis, comparing data across sessions and even across different tracks. Slowly, a pattern began to form, one that suggested Mercedes might be doing something clever. Something that appears legal on the surface, but potentially pushes the boundaries of interpretation. What makes this situation more intense is that Ferrari didn't just analyze, they gathered what many are calling new evidence. This includes detailed observations, technical comparisons, and data-backed concerns that have reportedly already been raised internally. Now, this doesn't automatically mean Mercedes has broken any rules. But in Formula One, even suspicion backed by data is enough to trigger a chain reaction. When one team raises a concern, especially a team like Ferrari, it rarely goes unnoticed. The FIA now finds itself in a position where it may have to take a closer look. Investigations, technical checks, and deeper inspections could follow if the concerns are taken seriously. For Mercedes, this situation couldn't come at a worse time. They are already trying to rebuild their dominance and close the gap to the front. Being placed under scrutiny only adds more pressure, as engineers may need to explain systems, justify design choices, and potentially slow down development. But here's where things get even more complicated. Some insiders believe this might not be about breaking the rules at all, but rather about how the rules are interpreted. Formula One regulations are incredibly complex, and sometimes teams find innovative ways to exploit areas that aren't clearly defined. These solutions aren't necessarily illegal, but they can challenge the spirit of the regulations. We've seen this happen many times in the sport's history, where one team finds an advantage that forces others to react. If that's the case here, the FIA might not hand out penalties, but instead introduce technical directives or clarifications. These changes often remove the advantage instantly, forcing teams to adapt overnight. If Mercedes is relying on such a system, losing it could significantly impact their performance. That's why Ferrari's move is so strategic. It's not just about accusing, it's about applying pressure, ensuring that every detail is reviewed, and potentially forcing a change that benefits them competitively. However, there's always another side to the story. What if Mercedes has simply created something brilliant? Something completely within the rules, but misunderstood by rivals? Innovation has always been the backbone of Formula One, and sometimes groundbreaking ideas initially appear suspicious. If Mercedes has genuinely found a legal performance gain, this situation could turn in their favour, proving their engineering strength rather than exposing wrongdoing. Still, raising concerns carries its own risks. In Formula One, when one team starts questioning another, it often leads to increased scrutiny across the entire grid. Ferrari themselves could come under the spotlight as a result. This is the nature of the sport: high stakes, constant pressure, and a never-ending search for any advantage, no matter how small. Right now, the paddock is watching closely. Teams are waiting to see whether the FIA will step in, whether Mercedes will be required to provide explanations, and whether Ferrari will push the issue further. Some controversies fade away quietly, but others grow into defining moments of a season. This one has all the signs of becoming something much bigger. One thing is clear: after the Chinese Grand Prix, the dynamic between Ferrari and Mercedes has changed. The tension has increased, and the competition has moved beyond the track. In Formula One, battles aren't only fought during races, they happen in engineering meetings, data rooms, and behind closed doors, where strategies are shaped and rivalries intensify. So now the big question remains: is Mercedes truly in trouble? Or is this just another strategic mind game in the world of Formula One? Whatever the answer may be, this story is far from over, and the coming races could reveal much more than just who is fastest on track. And beyond just the technical side, there's also a psychological battle unfolding. When a team like Ferrari raises concerns, it's not only about performance, it's about planting doubt. Doubt inside Mercedes, doubt within the FIA, and even doubt among fans. That kind of pressure can have real consequences. Engineers may second-guess decisions, drivers may feel added tension, and the entire operation can lose its rhythm. In a sport where confidence is everything, even a small distraction can cost valuable tenths on track. At the same time, the media attention surrounding this situation is only going to grow. Every radio message, every onboard clip, and every performance spike from Mercedes will now be analysed more closely than ever before. The spotlight is brighter and expectations are higher. If Mercedes continues to perform well, questions will follow. If they suddenly drop off, that will raise even more eyebrows. This is what makes Formula One so fascinating. It's not just engineering, it's strategy, politics, and mind games all combined. And right now, all eyes are on Mercedes and Ferrari as this story continues to develop. One decision, one clarification, or one unexpected performance shift could change everything in an instant.